everyone, I'm at GraphyNdot, and today we're going to learn how to make this Netflix intro using Blender and Hitflm Express. First, open Blender, right click the default cube and lamp and press X to delete it. Press numpad 1 to go front view. Shift A add text or X90 to rotate our text. Press tab to go into edit mode and change the text to be Netflix. Now go on the properties panel of the text and change the font to be a Bebas New. I will make it available for download in the link below. On the paragraph, right click on center for the horizontal alignment. Let's save our project, Ctrl S, and rename it Netflix Intro. Right click on the text to select and press S to scale it a bit. It's time now to deform our text and get the actual shape of the Netflix logo. Shift A, select lattice to add the lattice. Press SX to scale our lattice to fit the size and length of our text. And go on the lattice properties panel and increase the U value to be something like 5. Right click on the text and now let's add a modifier lattice. Let's select our lattice and now right click, press tab again and go to edit mode. Use B to box select those 6 points here and press G, Z to grab it on the Z axis. Now deselect everything and select once more those 2 points and grab it a bit to get it more deformed. Now let's adjust the top line by grabbing down a bit those 2 points. Press tab to exit edit mode and now right click on the text. Let's duplicate it, shift T. Press M to move the copy on the second layer. On the second layer, just right click and select it. Go to the object panel and rename it red text. Back on the first layer, let's rename it to be white text. Still selecting the white text, go on to the text properties, geometry extrude and set the value to be 0.12. Now we should have an extrusion of the text. Now press Alt C, mesh from curve meta text. We should have a mesh now with the deformation applied. Go back on the second layer, right click and now transform it to be a mesh as well. Press tab to enter edit mode, press A if you've selected all the vertices and on the tools panel click on remove doubles, tab exit edit mode, left click on the lattice and X to delete it, we won't need it anymore. Time for adjusting the camera. Now be sure to be in front view and now press Ctrl Alt 0, right click the cam and grab it, adjust it to get the text in the center. Now let's add some materials to our object. Left click the first text and go to the material settings. Click on the new button. Now leave all the settings to be as default. And now let's repeat the same operation for the second text, but let's change the color to be red. Rename each materials by double clicking on the names. Let's add a new plane, Shift A, Mesh Plane, or X90, then S to scale it and get it larger than the camera view. Since we are on the second layer, let's press M and right click the first layer. Left click the first layer. Left click the plane and rename it Wall. Let's also add a material and rename it Wall Material. Now if you scroll down on the settings, let's change the viewport color to be blue so we can differentiate the wall and the text. Let's now add a lamp. Shift A, lamp, sun lamp. By pressing G, Z, G, X, we can grab it and adjust the place to be on the appropriate one, or Y to rotate it and get the correct angle. Shift Z to preview the render. Now for the lamp setting, it's time for the animation. So left click the white text, press tab and then A until you deselect everything. Right click to select one vertex from the E letter, then press L to get all the linked vertices selected, then press P to selection. Repeat the same operation for the next letters, the T, F, L, I and X. Now we've separated all of the letters to several meshes. Now shift right click and select all the letters. Let's change the end of the animation to be something like 4 by 25 frames. So 100 frames. Double click on the current frame and then type 10. Press I location to insert a keyframe for the location of the text. Now let's go on the first frame. GY to move the text behind the wall in the y-axis. Press I location to insert a keyframe for the actual location of the text. On the current frame, type 30. Now we are on the 30th frame. Press 7 to go top view. GY to move the text behind the wall. Press I location and insert a keyframe for the location of the text. If we click on the playhead button, we can see that we already have an animation, but what you have to do is a letter by letter animation. So let's change our screen layout. Left click and drag this corner of the 3D view. And now we have splitted the screen. Let's change the lower one to be the top sheet editor. As you can see, if you followed correctly my method to separate the letters, you should have the different letters with an increasing number. All those diamonds are keyframes, and all we have to do is to move the keyframes 5 frames ahead. A to deselect everything, and B for a box selection. Let's select the keyframes below the first letters. And now let's go 5 frames ahead on the current frame. And G to grab and move the rest of the keyframes to this precise time. A to deselect everything and box selection. Let's repeat the same operation for the next animation. I decided to change the duration of the wall animation to be 65 frames. Now it's time for the render. Okay, so I will give 2 tips for those who have strong computers, and the second one for those who have slow computer. So for those who have a stronger computer, go on the render panel and switch to GPU compute if your graphic card is supported. Let's set the resolution to be like mine, 9020 by 1080, and increase the percentage to be 100. I use a PNG sequence with an RGBA as an output format. In the sampling, set the samples to be 50. For the light paths, can copy mine by pausing the video. Check motion blur, and on the tile size, set it to be at least 512. On the render layers, check denoising. On the scene panel, go to color management, and in the render view, select filmic. For the look, change it to be something like high contrast. And don't forget to choose the folder where you want to save your sequence and give it an accurate name. Okay, save it. Before rendering the whole sequence of animation, let's first render the red title sequence. We just need the one. So go on the second layer and press render or F12. When the render is finished, down here on image, click and choose save as image and save it on your drive next to all your other projects. Note, if you didn't check the transparent, you won't get this transparent background. Now, here's the second trick for those who have a slower computer, and for the purpose of the tutorial I will use this setting. Okay, so you have to change the resolution to be half the final resolution you want to have. For instance, here it's 9020 divided by 2. Set the tile size to be 64. Now press animation or Ctrl F12 to render the animation. Now it's compositing time. Okay, so once you open Hitfilm, go to File, New, choose 1080, 25 frames per second, click Start Compositing, and in the Media panel, right click and go to Properties, rename our composite shot, and now set the duration to be something like 4 seconds, and save our project. Now to import the image sequence, go to Import Image Sequence and select the folder containing the animation sequence. Also import the sound effects and the red title image. Let's select all those files in the media panel and drop it on the timeline. Okay, so arrange them to get the red title on the top. Now if you right click on the sound layer and go to Option Show Waveform, you can see that the sound is represented as a waveform. As you can see, the animation doesn't have the same size as the composition, as I said earlier. So to change this, go to the control panel, transform, scale, set the value to be 200%. Okay, unhide the red title and let's go to the frame where the final letter is fully shown and set the opacity to be 0. Insert a keyframe and set the interpolation to be smooth. Let's go to the frame where the X letter has completely vanished and set the opacity to be 100 and change the interpolation to be smooth also. Okay, stay in the same frame and insert a keyframe for the scale. And now let's move back to the frame where we've inserted the first keyframe of the opacity and change the scale value to be a bit bigger. Mine was 102.5%. Selecting the sequence layer, go to the frame where the X letter has completely vanished and use the eraser tool C to cut the layer at this frame, and now press S to use the stretch tool and let's stretch the length of this cut layer to fit the duration of the sound layer. Select the red title layer and go a few frames ahead. And now let's scale down a bit our layer so that we have a smooth animation for the Netflix red title. Now let's add some effects and grading. Add the grade layer, rename it grading. Go to the effect panel and search for the following effects: crash black and white, letterbox, and vignette 1080p. Move the letterbox to be the last effect. Now on the control panels of the effect, go on the crash black and white and move up the black value to be 0.1, lower the white value to be 0.95, and change the vignette type to be moderate. Now we can change the duration of the whole animation in the setting to be 3 seconds. And finally, let's export our composition. Okay, remove all finished files, and my output preset is the YouTube 1080p HD. Click on the Start Exporting, and here we are. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is just a simple way to process and make awesome 3D motion graphics. Even if you are using free and open source softwares, they are very strong. Okay, you can apply the principle to any other types of logo animation. Okay, so also feel free to comment, share, and like the video. Thanks for watching, and see you for the next tutorial coming very soon. Okay, see you.